In August, artificial intelligence chipmaker Nvidia set the record for the largest one-day increase in market value in stock market history. On Tuesday, it did the opposite. The company's shares fell 10%, the largest single-day drop for any U.S. company in the stock market's history. Nearly $280 billion disappeared from Nvidia's market value. Wednesday, Nvidia traded almost flat before ending the day down nearly 2%. Still, overall, the stock is up 120% this year. Meanwhile, Bloomberg is reporting the Justice Department sent subpoenas to Nvidia over antitrust violations. According to the outlet, officials have expressed concerns the chipmaker is making it harder for clients to switch to other suppliers and is penalizing buyers that use other artificial intelligence chips rather than exclusively using Nvidia's. Jeremy Owens joins me from San Francisco. He is host of On Watch, a weekly podcast by MarketWatch. So let's start off with Nvidia stock. What's going on?
Well, when they reported earnings last week, they did say that their next generation chip, Blackwell, that was expected to start shipping in this current quarter, won't actually start shipping until their fiscal fourth quarter. That caused them to have a forecast that was a little bit light. It was still above what Wall Street expected, but not as far above as Nvidia has gone over the past 3 or 4 quarters. And that kind of pushing some of that money out toward has caused people to pull a little bit of their money back from Nvidia. And this is the kind of volatility we've seen. I mean, you mentioned last month when they had their biggest one-day gain. Well, that was after a month of losing about a quarter of their market capitalization, right? We've seen this volatility, and a lot of it isn't going to change until there's more proof that an AI boom is going on outside of Nvidia.
So it seems like there are 3 things at play here based on what you said. And tell me which ones are real, or maybe they're all 3 in play. One is massive expectations for Nvidia itself, and that's just peculiar because Nvidia has a special product. The other is AI hype and maybe some withdrawal from AI hype. Investors got too far ahead of themselves. And then the third is this actual thing, which is they're a little behind schedule on one of their next chips, which is an actual physical thing that investors could be upset about as opposed to a question of expectations. Is that pretty much cover the ground?
Yeah, that gets around to it, right? You know, and as it goes for AI hype, I mean, Nvidia is proving that it's not just hype when it comes to them. Right? It's more about the hype of everybody else, the customers that Nvidia is selling this gear to, right? Microsoft, Facebook, Google, all of these companies, how are they going to make money off of the gear they're buying from Nvidia? And that's the question that hasn't really been answered beyond cloud computing. Right? I mean, Microsoft and Amazon and even Google can turn around and sell other tech companies access to this NVIDIA gear through the cloud, and they're finding some money off of that. But there's a lot of questions writ large about how much consumers or businesses are going to pay for these generative AI services that are being developed with that equipment. So that's really the larger question about NVIDIA. But the thing is, like, you know, every quarter the expectations get higher, and NVIDIA continues to go above it. So NVIDIA is proving that it's not just hype when it comes to their chips. It's more about the next round and the next round that really is the question.
Right. That's extremely helpful. Thank you. Okay, switching gears to the Justice Department subpoena. How difficult is it for the government to prove that NVIDIA is behaving monopolistically when NVIDIA does something that seems like only it can do? Help us understand what we know and what opportunity there might be for a monopoly claim with respect to the company.
Well, it's going to be very hard. I mean, we've already seen this with a lot of the antitrust charges that are going after Apple and Google and all of these other companies and trying to prove that they have a monopoly and that they're abusing it. It goes beyond just proving that a company has a monopoly. They have to prove that they're abusing that monopoly power. So there's 2 elements there, and it's very hard to prove either one of them, right? I mean, there are definitely estimates out there that NVIDIA owns about 80, 90% or more of the AI data center market. But is that the market that matters here? What about just the semiconductor market in general? right? That's kind of where these arguments end up in, ever never ending type of back and forth on, well, what's the market you're defining? Do they own a monopoly in that market? Are they abusing that monopoly in that market? That is why these antitrust investigations, and if there are ever charges, the court trials and everything else, they tend to go forever because there's a lot of investigation that needs to happen to even get to a point where you can say we can charge it. And then once you charge it, you have to prove it even farther. And that's where we're running into this wall again and again with the federal government trying to levy antitrust charges against a host of technology companies.
Right.